I can't help the fact that I was born, this way. I'm a first-generation college student, a photojournalist, and a single parent. But what most people choose to focus on is that I'm a transgender woman. Ever since, I was a young kid, probably about 6 or 7 years old, when gender differences started becoming apparent, I just always felt like I was on the wrong side of the fence of things. I used to get teased and harassed on the bus. So I learned really early on that, my gender issue was something that I had to hide for fear of some form of retaliation just for being me. And by the time I was 12, I was crying myself to sleep almost every single night, praying that God would change my body. It was extremely depressing because I had no idea what was going on or what it all meant. I just knew that being a boy didn't feel right. I was diagnosed with gender identity dysphoria about 8 months ago, and I've been on hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, ever since. HRT basically amounts to a testosterone blocker and estrogen that I take in a pill form. Before, my brain was kind of like getting all this testosterone. It's like, oh God, what is going on, But then, I stopped that and introduced estrogen. And it's almost just like complete mental relaxation. It's kind of a weird, but I just, since I've come out and transitioned, I just feel this extreme mental calm. The transition process isn't easy. It can be painful and expensive financially and emotionally. Also, HRT medications have a lot of nasty side effects, like an increased risk of diabetes or certain types of cancer. I actually had to sign a release form acknowledging the risk in order to even be treated. I made the final decision to transition really not too long ago. For the longest time I kind of thought, I didn't want to let my dad down, Even once I found out about HRT and that a lot of the changes were hormonal and that, I could just take some pills and, my body fat would redistribute, my face would start softening, just things like that. But, it's like I just still couldn't do it because I was afraid of breaking that bond with my father, that whole, father and son bond or whatever. But, When I actually did come out as transgender, I was really shocked and felt really foolish because he had the best reaction. He just, you know, just said, I don't know why you felt, that's something you can't talk to me about. And he's like, you're my child, I'll always love you. And, all my friends have been really positive about it. The only negative reaction was a cousin that I don't see very often just said some nasty things about how she's disgusted or whatever, but, whatever. All of my friends have taken it pretty well. They're just like, you're still our friend. Like, it's no big deal. In addition to my dad and daughter, there's also my mom, my sister, and my brother. They've all taken my transition pretty well. My daughter, Audrey, isn't a typical 9-year-old. She's not exactly capable of understanding gender roles. She is deaf and has severe developmental delays that were caused by CMV before she was born. I often worry about her future and whether or not it will be impacted by my gender identity. I really don't feel that there's much recognition for transgender issues in society as a whole, nationally, but I think Oklahoma seems to be an even worse place for that. There are actually bills introduced that basically restrict our access to common things like restaurants and things like that, just based on, a religious preference, which is, almost the same argument made during the Civil Rights era to keep African Americans out of restaurants, and then they had the sit-ins and things like that. And even on a discrimination level, there's protection for, a lot of different minority groups, but the LGBT community and particularly the transgender community are just kind of left out of that protection. Like right now, someone could refuse to hire me because I'm transgender. The lack of legal protection that I have on a state and national level, makes me feel like, I'm not a full citizen, like maybe I'm not a complete person, just because of my gender orientation, it's, I can't help the fact that I was born, this way. It's something that I've dealt with my entire life. And, it just doesn't seem fair for society to tell me that I'm not a person because of that. When I think back on my life as Chris, there are still some mixed emotions on that. I look through old pictures of me as, as a young man growing up, as a little boy with my dad fishing and things like that. And, I kind of feel like, Chris, he was a good guy, and in a way I kind of miss Chris, but at the same time, it's almost like Chris was a necessary loss because I just couldn't go on living that life. There was a barrier between me and everything else, and it's just such a relief to have that broken down.